All right, everybody. I hope you are doing well. Today we are talking about name changes and gender marker changes. Just so everybody knows, this webinar is recorded, so if you need to come back and take a look at it later or show someone else, you will be able to do all of that, all right? So it's gonna be 20 minutes. If you wanna have any questions, just drop them in the chat box. I can answer those at any time. If you are watching this, not live, recorded, feel free to email me at info@saralawpllc.com, and I'm happy to answer any of those questions for you. So let's get started. I want to talk to you a little bit about name and gender marker changes. You can change your name, you can change your gender marker, or you can change both in Texas. And that's if you're a minor or if you are an adult, okay? The process is a little bit different when you are a minor as when you're an adult, but that's all right. So here's what we're gonna do. I'm gonna start with this little slideshow. Slides will be available. Right, so happy Pride, everybody, if I haven't said that already. All right, a name change in Texas. To legally change your name, you need a court order, all right? So that's something specifically from a judge that says, I grant that Alex Sarah can change her name to Diamond Sparkles. Not kidding, you can do it in the state of Texas, okay? But if you don't have that court order, you can go by a nickname, family, friends, whatever, but on your legal documents, you have to use your legal name, right? So if you don't have a court order, you can't change your name on official documents. Once you do have an order, however, you can change your birth certificate, your driver's license, your social security card, literally anything you want. Some of you have been divorced. A lot of times ladies like to keep their last names if they're the same last names as their kiddos. It just makes things easier. So they don't go back to their maiden names after they divorced. However, you can do that later. So let's say all your kids have turned 17 or they're off your insurance. You don't need anything like that. So you want to change your name back to your maiden name. So if you didn't do that during the divorce, then you can do it later. And that's super easy to do yourself, okay? If you are in the middle of a divorce, you need to think critically about whether or not you want to change your name back to your maiden name, if you want to hyphenate it, how you want to do that, because you can change your name right in one shot in a divorce decree. So a divorce decree serves as that order you can use to change your license, all right? You have the right to change your name for literally any reason whatsoever. You don't have to tell a judge why, except it can't be to get away from creditors or to, get away from your criminal history. Pro tip, right? All your aliases are in the NCIC database. So that's where they keep track of criminal records. And so you can't just keep changing your name to run away from that history. All right, so name changes are pretty simple. So changing your name is an easy do-it-yourself process. I'm going to teach you how to do it right now. You prepare a petition to change your name of an adult. That's what it's called. It has your identifying information like name, date of birth, address, stuff like that, and any criminal history you may have other than Class C. So if you picked up a public intoxication, traffic tickets, things like that, we don't care about that. They just want to know if you've gotten a DWI, if you've been convicted of a possession of marijuana charge, those kind of things. And just because you disclose that, it's not going to affect your ability to have a name change unless you have to register as a sex offender or you are a felon. Felons cannot petition to change their name until 2 years after the end of their sentence. So whatever your sentence was, probation, jail time, you can still be eligible to change your name, except you gotta wait 2 years after that sentence is over. Get a fingerprint card. So fingerprint cards are easy to come by. Just make sure you get one of those. You'll need to file that with the petition. Not all courts require a background check. I've found courts in El Paso are 50-50. So some people have had to get one, some people haven't. I dropped the link in here so y'all will know where to get one. So you take all of these documents and you file them with the district clerk plus a civil information sheet. So civil information sheet is available on the El Paso County website. It's just basically more information about you. You can e-file it, which is totally online, or you can scan the documents and file everything online or in person. Okay, I don't know if the district clerk is open right now, and we've been filing everything e-file, but that's an option as the courthouse opens up. More about changing your name, all right? Filing fees. The filing fee is about $300 for a civil case. If you need to change your name and you can't afford that, you can qualify for a waiver of fees by using a statement of inability to pay. So it'll ask you a bunch of questions. If you fall under the threshold, then you're good to go. You won't have to pay that filing fee. If you make too much money, you'll pay the filing fee when you file. So that's another document that it just depends on your situation, whether or not you're gonna need. So you file all the documents, now what? It's time to set or attend a hearing. So some counties, and this webinar applies all across Texas. So I use a lot of examples from El Paso County because that's where I practice, but you can use this same method to change your name in Travis County, in Bexar County, in any county in Texas, because it's the same. Now remember, to have civil jurisdiction, and what jurisdiction is the ability for a court to hear your case or your name change. You have to meet certain requirements of living in that county for 90 days, living in Texas for 6 months, okay? So just make sure you either finish this name change before you move or wait till you've been at your new location for a while before you try and change your name. So some counties require you to call, set a hearing, or you can come to, it's basically an open docket, right? So a lot of uncontested divorces, you can show up on a Friday and get the order signed by the judge, okay? So some courts have a weekly time. It used to be Fridays at the county courthouse. At the hearing, really all you have to do is say, you know, you'll be sworn in, you swear to tell the truth, and that everything you filed in the petition is true and correct. You've provided those documents, and then the judge will sign that order most of the time, as long as you're qualified. If the judge asks you questions, answer them. It's a really simple process. Some judges, I have had it where they don't even require a hearing. They just go ahead and sign those orders and get them back to you. So it just depends on which judge you're in front of. So forms for El Paso County, I've dropped a link in there. You can also Google search district clerk of whatever county you're in to get those particular name change forms. It doesn't have to be anything formal, okay? A name change isn't this crazy contested process where you have to do a lot of work. A lot of people go pro se, which means, you know, on your own, and change your name, fill out the form to the best of your abilities. Judges are real friendly about this stuff, unless, of course, as I said, you're trying to hide something by changing your name, okay? Pretty much the same process all across Texas. Here's an example of what you're going to find on the website when you look up civil filing fees, okay? It's a petition for the name change of adults, and it'll go through, these are each individual fees with a total of $297, and then there's a processing fee. So budget about $300 to get your name changed, or file that inability to pay affidavit, okay? Now, what about a name change for minors? This comes up super frequently. Okay, let's say somebody gets divorced, or dad's no longer, or mom is no longer in the picture, and they want to change names. For example, you have the guardians are now the grandparents, the legal guardians, and they want to change to the grandparents' last name. Can you do that? Absolutely. But everyone who is a legal guardian has to agree. So let's say you're a single mom, you have the kiddos, you want to change those kiddos into your last name, all right? Well, dad still has guardianship, conservatorship, still has parental rights. you have got to get permission, consent in writing or at a hearing from dad. Doesn't matter if he's gone, if you haven't heard from him for a period of time, if he's not paying child support, whatever the case may be. Same thing with mom. Mom's out of the picture, she's gone, she's not paying child support. You still have to get her consent if she still has any sort of legal rights to that child. If either parent has terminated their parental rights, then it's a non-issue. If that parent is deceased, it's a non-issue. In the case of grandparents that are legal guardians, if both parents have terminated their parental rights, grandparents are legal guardians, they can go forward. If the child is 10 or over, the child has to agree. Because you can imagine the problems with changing a first or last name to a child who is 10 years old or older. Okay, so child has to agree. If they're 10 or older, both parents have to agree. If you do not know where the other parent is, say mom's gone, right? You will have to file the petition for name change. Then you're gonna have to publish, in most cases, right, service by publication, or if you know where they are, you can send a process server to serve them the petition and notice of a hearing. Then you set that hearing, you show up with the kiddo, the judge is gonna ask you some questions, and if that other parent doesn't show up, they're going to default judgment in your favor. You're gonna get the name change that you want. But you will have to prove that the parent who was gone is gone and has been properly served. So those are the important things that you need to know. I've dropped a link to a toolkit that also can be helpful for you. All right. Now, let's take a look at gender markers. So gender marker, if you don't know what that is, it's your gender identity on your legal documents. Sometimes that's representative of who you are. I am female on my documents. However, in some cases, that is not indicative of your personal gender identity, like if you're transitioning or in other types of cases. So in Texas, you absolutely can change that, which blew my mind because we're Texas. So luckily, that's an option. Now, unlike name changes, okay, gender marker changes are discretionary, meaning that depending on what judge you're in front of, they could grant it, they may decide not to grant it. So, same steps as above: petition, fingerprints, background check, throw that in there. Here's an example that's used in Travis County. So all you would have to do is click on this link if you wanted to do it yourself, go through that petition, fill it out, and then change, from Travis County to El Paso County, okay? But this is just an example. It's often easier to get a lawyer to do this one because we know the ins and outs of what's going on. But again, I want to be able to empower you all to do these things yourself. So it's absolutely possible. You'll need to put a section in the petition that the change in your gender marker is in your best interest. So basically, I just say that, right? The change in gender marker is in client's best interest because it no longer reflects their true identity, right? Their true gender identity. And then you also have to prove that through a different type of document. So you can get a letter from your doctor that says you have that you're transitioning. You can provide proof of hormone therapy. You can provide proof of going through counseling. Whatever that is, right? Usually that presentation is enough, especially in El Paso and Travis County, to get that gender marker changed, okay? But I will say judges do have the discretion to say no. What about for a minor? So you still can, if your minor needs a gender marker change, it's the same process essentially as the name change for minors, okay? So your petition, your consent, you have to serve the other party if there's another legal guardian, etc. 10 or over has to agree, all right? This one might be best, again, to contact an attorney because we're dealing with a lot of different parties here. It's different for a child than for me to say, I no longer identify with my gender, I'm going through a transition, and then go on my own to do this, okay? So there's a lot of moving parts when we're talking about minors. Might be best to hire an attorney. So what about both? You want to change your name and gender marker. The cool thing about this is you can do it all on one petition. So then you only have to pay one filing fee instead of 2 filing fees. I know several people that have changed their name first, then go through transition treatment, and then decide to change their gender marker on legal documents. So that's 2 separate hearings. If you're sure you want to change both, get it done in one, and then 1 hearing, 1 filing fee. Now, what do you do after you get the court order? So let's say you got your gender marker and you changed your name. Cool, you have an order, everything's good to go. Can you just automatically use your new legal name? No, right? If you get pulled over on the way from the courthouse to your house or to the Social Security office to change your Social Security card, you're still your old legal name, okay? You got to get those licenses changed. So it depends on the type of entity. You can get your license changed to female, male. Unfortunately, there's no non-binary genders, okay? So it's either female or male in Texas. Those are what's recognized. If you don't have a license, your license is suspended, something like that, you can absolutely do it with your state issued ID. So regardless of whether you have a driver's license, you're eligible for a driver's license. If you have a state issued ID, it works that way too. And then once you have that state issued ID in your new name with your new gender or the representative gender, then what'll happen is once you apply for the license, you can use that state issued ID and continue the process. I always recommend doing the ID first because you're gonna need that change plus the court order to then birth certificate. You absolutely can do that. Then Social Security card, then passport, okay, then school documents, then credit cards, then that kind of thing. So you will need that court order and then to change your ID. There may be fees associated with this. I believe the one to change your license is $25 and the birth certificate one has a fee as well. If you Google it, it'll send you to the right spot. And you may be running around changing all of these documents, but I promise you it will be worth it. All right, so that is all for the presentation. I am gonna open it up for some questions if anybody has any questions. If not, I would love your feedback about our little 20-minute lunch and learn. I hope to have them every single month on a different topic because the goal is to empower you to move your life forward using the law. There's a lot of things that you can do yourself to save time, to save money, and to protect you and your family. So thank you everybody for watching my video and for attending my webinar live, and I hope you have a great week.